of wealth creation through Midas Touch. We at Midas Touch believe that hard work and self belief will always earn you success. For the last 15 years, we have tried our best to stick our core values of focusing on clients' interest, tailor made advice, and prompt services. It has been a very fruitful and fulfilling journey for us. Whenever we achieve any milestone, we like to celebrate it with our family. So, today we welcome all the Midas Touch family to join us for the celebration. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now, I invite Ishan Mantri to take this evening forward.
Good evening, all. Today we have amongst us Mr. Abhay Kardeguddi. Abhay sir has been the mentor of Midas Touch from the very start. He has been the strongest support system for us since the very beginning. He believed in us at the time when we ourselves were unsure of our path and future. He is a multifaceted personality who himself is an accomplished teacher for the last 20 years and an exceptional trainer, having conducted 450 plus workshops on sales and marketing. A consultant, having guided 250 plus companies on strategy, sales and services, and an inspiring entrepreneur running a company called Carwack Eco Matters for the last 17 years, under which they deal in eco-friendly products. May I request Abhay sir to please join us on the stage. I also call upon Mr. Rajendra Mantri to felicitate Abhay sir. I request Abhay sir to please summarize the journey of Midas Touch. Thank you.
Good evening, friends.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
When I do my training programs, I say good evening.
Good evening.
And people, but of course, this is not a training program. Thank you, Mr. Ishan Mantri, for such a wonderful introduction. Yeah, I have seen this boy when he was itna chota, and then now today he is here, introducing. Wow, that's another achievement of both Neelam, Rahul, and family. I'm sure. Yeah, thank you so much. A big hand for Ishan, please. All right. So, Ishan, how much time I have? You are an anchor, so all right. I want to start with he versus she.
Okay.
Yeah. He versus she. She welcomes you. I'm sure all of you will agree with what I'm going to say now. Huh? She welcomes you with her smile, charm, and courtesy, while he engages you with his poise, advice, and wisdom. Do you agree with me? Yes. Yeah? He will talk less, but matlab ki baat. He will talk less, but matlab ki baat. And she engages you into talking. She reads a lot. He writes a lot. I'm sure you know that he also has written even in economic times. Yeah. He's good at counseling. She's very good at operations. He helps her in her work. She intervenes, when necessary. She makes great tea. Do you know this? I'm a total fan of her chai, tea. Not a teetotaler. I like tea. She makes great tea. He is a great travel planner. She is an extrovert. He is kind of an introvert. Yeah. So when I say he versus she, are they opposites? No, they're not. They're actually she plus he. That makes them them. Yeah, a wonderful combination, a great couple which complements each other. Should I say ek duje ke liye? Join me for a big hand for Rahul and Neelam. Thank you. That continued clap means something. Rahul and Neelam. Yeah. Well, having told you, drawn upon their contrasts, let me tell you what is common about both of them. Both of them are Marwadis. No. that's of course. Yeah, they're both Marwadis, but yeah, both of them, they are MBAs. She is MBA Marketing and Finance. He is MBA in Finance. Sure. Let's welcome our chief guest here with a big applause.
You were saying some things about me, I'll correct them when I come.
Now I was saying how amazing this couple is. That's what I began. I started he versus she, and then I said no, they are he plus she. Yeah. That's
she
it.
is always superior, na?
Sorry?
She is always superior.
Yeah, one S extra. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I was saying that both of them have something common. They are both Marwadis, of course, but they have MBA, MBA Marketing and Finance is what Neelam is, and Rahul is MBA Finance with CFP, Certified Financial Planner. Most of us we know. But I want to tell you something more. Yeah? And what is that more? क्या आपको मालूम है राहुल का टैगलाइन क्या है जिंदगी का? Yes. Yes. Great. So like me, there are some more people who envy you. Yeah. Jile zara. Alright? Yeah, that's amazing. And I love that tagline. And Neelam is a great companion. She participates in his travel journey. They plan it together. But every Diwali, you get a call from Neelam. I'm sure all of you get it. For Happy Diwali, yes, of course. But more than that, for asking you for donating clothes for needy people. Yeah, that is something makes them different than others. I don't know if they are there today, but ask Bharti Tai and Mangal Tai. Am I taking names correct?
Yeah.
Bharti Tai and Mangal Tai, who is their house help, yeah, they are working for them for last 20-25 years, and both of them, yeah, Neelam must have taken the initiative there, and both they have started SIP for these women, working with them for 1,000-1,500 rupees. Last almost 10 years, 12 years. Is that right? Yeah? थोड़ा research किया है. You will know more. Okay, about you. They, not only Bharti Tai and Mangal Tai, but even their children now who have started working, they have started SIP for them. Yeah, that's something amazing. And when I got to know about it, it was very touching. Yeah. Let me change the track and let me share with you, my experience with them when I was working with them as a growth consultant. I'm still, of course, part of Midas Touch. Just some time back, they gave me Midas Touch ka T-shirt, and half the way while I was coming here, I said, "Oh God, was I supposed to wear that T-shirt?" So during our consulting, me as an advisor to them, one thing I observed that they always used to be on time. Yeah, they're amazing. If it is 2 o'clock appointment, 2 o'clock, exactly 2 o'clock, there will be ding dong on this thing. I say that I set my watch based on your coming. Very open to advice, suggestions, extremely sincere in their approach. They come prepared whenever they come for the meeting, and most importantly, they're ready for experimenting. I believe marketing is all about experimentation. Those who know this particular function, they know that marketing is about experimenting. Something works, something doesn't. But then your client has to be ready for that experimentation. And both of them had been, great in experimenting. One thing which is very interesting that I want to share with you out of whatever we did. On one of the days we said let's define strategy, and part of that we said vision, mission, and values. I remember values in particular. And they said, okay, so next meeting they came prepared on values. I'm not going to all those, they're written on their website, you can check that. One of the values they said is transparency. That we want to 100% be transparent with our clients and tell them how much do we earn when you invest through us. And we want to put it openly. Yeah? To be very honest with you friends, I was not sure whether this is a great strategy. But we discussed, we debated, and I said, okay, fine, let's do it. And I think my apprehension was wrong. It proved right, because we all know how this market is. Madam is expert here. She will, guide us on this subject. But what we observe as customers, and observers of this market is not so, clean market. Yeah, this market is where you see, lots of things happening and people selling you something in the name of, being financial advisor, when they are actually agent of some company, correct me if I'm wrong, madam, when you speak later. But against that backdrop, when they said 100% transparent with clients, I said that's a great virtue, great value. And then, it has come a long way. If you see their testimonials, many of you must have written in it. Recently, I had an opportunity to interview both of them for a magazine in Bhutan, Entrepreneurs Bhutan, a magazine where about credibility they write very interesting, and I want to read it for you. How to build credibility. Financial services is a dirty business, full of mis-selling based on commissions and payouts. We have seen big institutions like banks and wealth management companies getting too salesy at the cost of credibility. This is where we saw an opportunity, and we, for one, chose not to compromise on clients' interests and be very, very sensitive about it, and also about our goodwill. Yeah, that's something very interesting in this market, what we see around and what is happening generally. Yeah, I have something more to say, and then I'll close. Something about Rahul, and then something about Neelam. Yeah. During college days, I was told that he was a very, very inquisitive boy. Yeah. He used to, with finance teachers, he used to ask for clarifications. He used to ask for professor ki isko apply kaise kiya jaye? How do we apply this concept what you are telling me? Yeah. He used to interact not only with finance people but marketing, HR people in his institute. He was open for new ideas. He would like to think about them. He used to write since college days, about finance into magazines. His priority was very clear. He had a very interesting family business of construction, but never wanted to go there. He did try some stint there, but he didn't want to do that. He wanted to do something meaningful. That is where I think I must tell you that also. In business, Neelam is senior to Rahul. Yeah, she started business and then Rahul joined. That is what the story I know. All right. And then there's something interesting. Last year there was a paper of indirect tax, which was 3-hour paper. This boy writes it in 1.5 hours and he gets out. Yeah. And others say that, "Arey, we are taking supplement, Baba, and what are you doing?" Yeah, but he walked out in 1.5 hours, 50% time, and he was among the topper at the end of the exam. That is our Rahul Mantri. Neelam, somebody very close to you writes about you, and that I want to read it out. Yeah, Neelam is very helpful, very sensitive, and an emotional person. She gives 100% in any relationship, be it sister, mother, in-laws, or as wife, parents, whatever. This is what she says. Somebody says, I'm sorry. Very close to you. her nature is to help others, and this 2 or 3 people have repeated about you, Neelam. They said that Neelam is one who will always be with you when there is a issue, there is a trouble, there is a problem. Rather, she will be with you even before that problem begins. She would understand. She would anticipate something wrong is going to happen, and she comes and helps. That's what these 2-3 people they confirm. Yeah. And lastly, she says that she is a person where people will always have trust and depend on. Friends, I'm very sure as clients of Midas Touch, both you and me, they are my excellent advisors. Yeah. Also. So both, all of us, I'm sure we agree that Midas Touch and Rahul Neelam, they are fantastic advisors, and most importantly, they are very, very dependable people. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Yeah? So join me for 3 cheers for Rahul and Neelam. 3 cheers for Rahul Neelam. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. Thank you so much. Thanks for giving me this opportunity, Mr. Ishan Mantri Vezi. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Abhay sir. That was truly nostalgic. Moving ahead, the very purpose of this meeting is to able to thank each one of you. All these milestones wouldn't have been possible without your trust and support. We want to take this opportunity to thank a few people. One amongst them is the backbone of Midas Touch. Dipesh, may I have you on stage, please?
Everyone must know Dipesh, always smiling, enthusiastic, eager to help and trustworthy. Come. Don't be concerned. He is our office assistant, ma'am. He is with us from, I guess, 14-15 years. हमारे काफ़ी जो पुराने क्लाइंट्स है या आरएम हैं जो आते हैं काफ़ी बार ऑफिस पे, बहुत बार ऐसे पूछते हैं कि दिपेश को मिलते हैं पहले, देन दे कम टू अस. दिपेश अजूनही आहे तुमच्यासोबत, सो गुड. बट मला एक क्लिअर करायचं आहे की दिपेश फक्त मिडास टचचं फॅमिली मेंबर नाही आहे, पण ही इज अ फॅमिली मेंबर ऑफ अ फॅमिली ऑल्सो, अँड वी आर व्हेरी थँकफुल टू बी विथ अस, दिपेश.
Today, we would like to acknowledge 3 special clients of ours. They have been associated with us since the beginning of the journey. They personify the quote, "One step can start a journey of 1,000 miles." May I call upon Mr. Ashish Rathi on stage, please? Here. Smile. Thank you, Ashish. Ashish is one of the first investors to start an SIP with us in 2009. The SIP is still live after 15 long years. We hear such stories like Ashish only in financial articles related to financial planning and presentations. He has created a big corpus through consistency and long-term approach. Second one is my dear sister Rashmi Rathi, who couldn't make it today because of her personal commitments. Both of them have never missed an SIP for last 15 years. Third, Mr. Abhijit Birmal, who is the first client of ours for whom we did a financial plan. He too has pursued his financial plan judiciously for 14 long years. Abhijit couldn't join because he had some personal commitments. Now, I call upon Ishan to introduce our guest speaker.
Without further delay, let's move to the most awaited part of the evening. I would like to introduce today's chief guest, Ms. Radhika Gupta. Radhika ma'am is the MD and CEO of Edelweiss Mutual Fund. Before joining as CEO, she worked with the global consulting giant McKinsey and Company. She was the founder of Forefront Capital, which was eventually taken over by Edelweiss Financial Services. She took over the reins of Edelweiss Mutual Fund at the young age of 34. Under her leadership, the fund house scaled new highs. The AUM grew from 6,700 crore to 1.2 lakh crore. On the back of innovative products like Bharat Bond ETF and Target Maturity Funds. She is a risk taker and a firm believer in the India growth story. Maybe this is one of the reasons why she is today a panelist at Shark Tank India. Shark Tank India helps startups to raise money for their future growth. She has won many accolades and awards like the Economic Times 40 Under 40 Business Leaders Award in 2021, Business Today's Most Powerful Women in India Award 2019 and 2021, Fortune India 50 Most Powerful Women in Business 2020, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to welcome the most dashing, dynamic, visionary, the one and only lady CEO in the Indian mutual funds industry, Miss Radhika Gupta. I would request Rekha Mantri to please felicitate Radhika ma'am. Now I request Radhika ma'am to take over the dais.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Okay. So I'm delighted to be here. I think, firstly, I got to come in early and hear some of the introductions and client stories, and congratulations to the entire Midas Touch team. He asked me if I agreed with some of the things he said, and I think it's hard to build a financial services business, but it's harder to build it the right way. This is a business of trust, and I always say financial services people are some of the most highly paid professionals in the world. And somehow it's the industry where the most scams occur, and it's not something I'm very proud of. But to not make compromises, to build business on the basis of transparency, I think all of you should be very, very proud of that. So congratulations, guys. I also must thank the young Ishan. I've got your name right?
Yeah.
I've gotten many introductions in life, but I don't think such a young person has ever introduced me before. So I feel rather young about it. And the last thing is, I must apologize. I have a terrible voice right now. So the enthusiasm is not low, the voice and energy is a little low, so please forgive me. I also feel a little guilty seeing you all dressed up because I'm not wearing a sari, despite having 300 of them. Mumbai had terrible floods and rains today morning, and I brought some rain to Pune, guys.
Thank you for that.
Yes, I also came to Pune to escape a wedding that has taken over Mumbai. Yes. So I said Friday night might be better spent with you guys. But no, really excited to be here. And what are we going to talk about for the next half an hour? So I'm a mutual fund CEO, and these days everyone seems to be making a lot of money. I get asked the same few questions each time. It's like, market ka kya lagta hai? And then the second one is, can you give me a stock tip? You ask these questions? So then I said, I rarely do give stock tips, but let me make a presentation about stock tips. So let me start with a stock story. And if you trade stocks, you will guess it in a second. If you don't, you'll still guess the story. But it's a story of a very prominent company in India, products all of you would have used, enjoyed, and most of the times people have said, yeah, good company, good people, good brand name, and yet for many years the stock went nowhere. In fact, it went so nowhere that it became a meme. You know the stock?
Yeah.
Which one?
ITC.
IDC, yeah. So IDC became a bit of a meme, and this is ITC's price. So there was a running joke around 250 that ITC never moves, and then one day ITC moved. In fact, since it's a Friday night and we're talking about memes and we're talking about young people, there were some very cool memes made on ITC. Now, have you guys seen Three Idiots?
Yes.
So this was meme one, where basically an interview candidate asks Sharman Joshi, how patient are you? And the guy says, "Boss, मैं तो ITC का investor हूँ." And he said, "The job is yours now. Let's discuss salary." So this was ITC, pre-the-rise. Then there was a post meme, which is Chatur telling Rancho as an ITC stock, "ये कहा था ना एक दिन तुम रोओगे और मैं हंसूंगा." So this is pre and post. Now, why am I making fun of ITC? In some way, I think India's story resembles that of ITC stock. For many years, people have seen India and said, good country, it produces doctors, engineers, scientists, doesn't drop bombs on people, is generally non-aligned, but good people. But growth hadn't taken off the way one would have liked it to, until I think we've had a bit of our own ITC moment. Now let's do some fun quizzing of Indian history. So, if you enjoy Indian history, tell me what happened on this date in India. And I have lots of quizzes. Okay, so this is the date a gentleman called William Hawkins entered India via Surat to seek the first permissions for something called the East India Company. You all know what happened after that. It is interesting that before the East India Company was set up, India used to account for 25% of the world's manufacturing, because the largest manufacturing business was textiles. This is one of the emotional reasons I have 300 sarees, because I really think our textile heritage is something. Some of you would be familiar with a gentleman called Nadir Shah. So Nadir Shah came to India in the 1700s. Essentially what we took 200 odd years to accumulate, which was 10 billion pounds then, was taken back to Britain on 700 elephants, 4,000 camels and 12,000 horses. And then India became an independent country. Now, what was our biggest problem at the time of independence? Simple. Lots of people, not enough food. Food production was very, very low. Literacy was very low. And in some sense, the Green Revolution of the 1960s was India's first step at food sufficiency. Good or bad, we chose that we are going to grow via a PSU and private mixed model. And like ITC for many years, growth remained 3-4% till finally some reforms started kicking off in the 1990s. And now, things are different. Let me ask you another quiz question. Pre the British coming to India, what percentage of world economic output did India account for? What percentage of world economy did India account for before the British showed up? 30%? Close, 40%. Look at this. It's just interesting to watch the yellow, which is India, and the red, which is China, and you see some Western countries. So this is rich India at 40% of world economic output. This is Nadir Shah. This is British rule. This is independent India. This is things getting worse and worse. And finally the turn that happens. It's a staggering graph, and essentially the whole 1900s was kind of lost to the US when the Industrial Revolution happened. So that's the past. Now let's talk about the present. And India is a very interesting place today. When the first, maybe the younger folks can tell me, when did India get its first Apple store? Any idea? Yeah, 2023. It happened in Mumbai. China got its first Apple store 15 years before that. It's very interesting that Apple would choose to open its first store in India 15 years after it opened its first store in China, even though the countries have very comparable populations. What is per capita GDP in India today? Any idea? $2,700 per capita. Interestingly, per capita GDP in China when that damn Apple store opened was also $2,700 per capita. And lots of interesting stories, but India is now making the jump of 2,500 to 5,000 that China made, and there are lots of other commonalities we can talk about. But anyway, let's get back to stock tips because I'm supposed to give a stock tip. Okay, so let me ask you a question. When you guys buy stocks, what do you look at? It's an easy question.
Growth.
Growth, that's good. What else?
Valuations.
Valuations, that's good. What else?
People.
Yeah, CEOs do some work, right? What else? Like when you buy businesses, differentiation, competitive advantage, market size. What else? Some people look at promoter holding, they say. Some people look at balance sheet. The CAs will say some financial metric. These are typically things that we look at. So I want to talk to you about a stock and some 7-8 points about a stock. Now our population is what? India? Easy questions, guys.
1.4.
1.4 billion, and we are about a 4 trillion economy. But this $2,700 per capita doesn't really feel like our life. So my last trip to Pune, I was supposed to stay at the JW Marriott, and I did not stay because they were charging 39,000 rupees a night. Now I know Pune is a really nice city, but JW Marriott in Pune for 39,000 rupees a night. Maldives Taj is at 50,000 rupees a night, guys. Has anyone started believing that travel and hotel costs in this country have gone insane?
Yes.
My friend is the CEO of Mercedes, Santosh Iyer. So, and others know that. So some friends keep calling me and saying that we need a favor with Mercedes. So once I told a group of them, I can't get you a discount at Mercedes. They said, who says we want a discount? We're looking to buy a Maybach, just like a 3CR car. We just want the waiting period to be shortened. I heard from Santosh that India has the largest waiting period in the world for Maybachs. And you guys know something called Bulgari? Yeah? Bulgari made a bracelet like the one I'm wearing, but it's just a plain gold kada. They're selling it for 12 lakhs and just says Bulgari. It's exclusively designed for the Indian market. It was a sellout when it was launched. And before the men start saying anything and saying that women buy all kinds of irrational things, the bracelet was targeted at men. It's not us. Really. And it's kind of hard to believe because, you know, I was still born into an India where my mother told me, jo kharido wo sasta sundar tikau hona chahiye. Like someone said Malwadi, right? I am like a Baniya girl through and through. And everything had to be sasta sundar tikau because that's the India my parents were born into. But the top, and my data is a little old, the top 10% of the country, which is now 14 crore people, are a $2 billion economy. 14 crore people, yeah, water will help, are about a $2 billion economy. So this is rich India. All of us, thank you. All of us effectively live in rich India. And the cool thing about this 14 crore population is it's going to double in the next 6 years. Because the next 10% of India will join rich India. So all of us are living in a developed country that is going to double in the next 6 years. And that is why India is a tremendously large market size. Okay. So let me ask you a second question. We talked about market size. How many Indians in 1,000 Indians have a car? Any idea?
20.
20? Any other guesses? So it's 29. 3% of India has a car. As a... Okay. 3% of India has a car. Look at the numbers for China and Thailand. 10% of households have an air conditioner, and we are a hot country. Washing machines have been around for quite some time. Only 1 in 5 households has a washing machine. In most parts of the world, manual washing is done. 50% of households have a TV. So point 1 was that we are a large market. Point 2 is that despite being a large market, penetration is very low. which is why for anyone looking to start a business, even if you're targeting 14 crore people, it's an incredible opportunity. Now, third point someone made is about growth. So, this whole small cap, mid cap, large cap stuff is super popular these days. And let me show you India's cap journey. In 2000, if you looked at the top 10 economies in the world, we were not even present. I call it micro cap India. 10 years later, we made a debut at 9. I call this small cap India. Another 10 years later, we became a mid cap at 5. Another 10 years later, we'll become a legitimate large cap at 3. At an event I was speaking at in Los Angeles, US ambassador said, you guys are talking about India being the third largest economy. By 2060, India will be the world's largest economy. Stuff that we don't read. You guys watch the movie Karan Arjun? I watch a lot of movies. So Karan Arjun has this character of Rakhi, and she's the mother. And she's very annoying because she's always saying, ek din mere Karan Arjun aayenge. And they never show up. So when you typically look at a business, you look at earnings growth. कि भाई company कुछ earnings generate कर रही है. And till a decade ago, earnings growth in India was like Karan Arjun and Rakhi. Earnings growth just never showed up. You would have one sector, sometimes IT would do well, sometimes pharma would do well, but on a broad basis, the economy never really moved. I would say in this decade, Karan Arjun have finally showed up. And you are seeing broad-based, double-digit earnings growth, and this explains some of what you're seeing in the market. Okay, let me ask you some more questions. Like, how much does a wisdom tooth extraction cost in Pune? Root canal? It's like basic stuff. 15,000. My brother-in-law got a wisdom tooth extracted a few months ago in New York, and he paid $15,000. बेचारे को सेडेट किया गया था, फिर उठ गया, बिल देखा और कहता है मुझे सेडेट ही करा छोड़ा था. We know this, right? We all have, like my parents, you know Medanta? It's a hospital in Gurgaon. I think it only exists because rich people from abroad come and get cheap medical treatments here. We know this medical arbitrage. बाहर से लोग आते हैं, NRIs आते हैं, यहाँ सस्ता ट्रीटमेंट करवाते हैं. We produce a large number of doctors. 1 in 20 doctors in the US is Indian now. Who exports the maximum amount of crude oil in the world? Which country? Saudi. Yeah. Saudi exported $170 billion of crude oil last year. Do you know how much IT services India exported? And I know this is Pune, so you guys have a play in the tech industry. 200 billion. Our IT exports beat Saudi's oil exports. And you guys would know IT is how old in industry? IT is like 30 years old, right? Now, here's some companies. What's common between them? What's common between these 5 companies? Yep, the CEO is Indian. What am I trying to tell you? When you look at a stock, you like to look at competitive advantages. We are doctors, we export the largest number of healthcare workers. 1 in 3 AI professionals is Indian. We've of course done super well in tech. And now we seem to produce even management skills. So services is something that we know how to do. But now the economy is doing more than services. I remember a time in the 80s when we used to live in US and we had unlimited baggage allowance because my father was a diplomat. And my parents used to carry packs of Tang and hair dryers back to India. मिलता नहीं था कुछ. अभी मेरा, I have a 2-year-old, so he had his birthday. And 2-year-olds get all kinds of useless toys on their birthday. And so my mother is like, ये भी made in China है, ये भी made in China है, ये भी made in China है. It's like 10-15 years ago we used to say सस्ता सामान आएगा तो कहाँ से आएगा? China से आएगा. So I started opening the labels. Every single thing he got was made in India. Every single toy that my son got on his birthday was made in India. And manufacturing is actually moving in India because what was true in China 15-20 years ago is true today. Labor cost in India is very low. It is 15% of what it is in China. The government has also done some very sensible things, production linked incentive, better tax incentives for new manufacturing. But today, a country that could not produce a decent hair dryer in the 80s is actually exporting $50 billion of mobile goods. I went to the US a few months ago for the same conference, and I went to Los Angeles and okay. I think I've spread the cough. So I went to Los Angeles. I was hungry and okay. Hungry, went to a restaurant and asked for a table. And it's been 15 minutes, it's been half an hour, and nobody's giving me a table. So then the impatient person in me wakes up and I go to the manager and I'm like, boss, यहाँ tables तो खाली हैं, आधा तो restaurant खाली है. Why am I not getting a table? So the guy comes up to me and says, madam, we don't have a shortage of tables. We have a shortage of waiters to serve them. And I had a similar experience actually last year when I went to Atlanta and I went to a coffee shop and they said we used to serve coffee and sandwiches. But after COVID, we don't have people, so we don't have sandwiches. Now, Western countries, when COVID happened, spend a lot of money to get out of COVID. They paid people to sit at home. And unfortunately, after you pay people to sit at home, they don't like to come back to work. India, thankfully, could not do that because we didn't have the money to do that. The result is today, actually, if you look at the balance sheet of our companies, of our government, and of our individuals, it actually looks in very good shape. Now, I made this comment, and this is a very non-political comment. I believe that parties have come, parties have gone, but India has actually had tremendously stable management. If you look at the UPA or the NDA, both have led the country through some kind of economic crisis, and this is not a political viewpoint, economic policy has been reasonably consistent in India. Political policy may or may not. Economic policy for sure. Okay. How many Indians had a bank account 10 years ago? What percentage? Hardly. Yeah. 14%. What percent has a bank account today? 81%. More than electricity. What is the change? What's the reason for the change? So, yes, people say DBT, people say JAM, Jandhan, all that, right? I argue yes, but the first catalyst was something called Aadhaar. Because Aadhaar, which came in 14-15, made it viable to open a low-cost bank account through digital KYC. Jandhan built. Aadhaar is UPA policy. Jandhan is NDA policy. So in India, management quality has been reasonably decent. Some people say that when they look at a stock, they like to look at promoter ownership and promoter holding. I just want to show you some stats on promoter holding. 10 years ago, foreigners used to own 10% of our market. They own 16%. Domestic investors have gone from owning 9% to 15% today. If you take domestic institutions like us, plus all the money you invest in your retail individual capacity, we are larger than the foreign investor today. We collectively have actually made our capital market more stable and better quality, which is why when you see a global event, the collapse in markets is much less sharp than it was a decade ago. And funnily, I know Midas has made you all good quality investors, so nobody said when I look at a stock, I look at past performance, but anyway, some people do. Let's just talk about past performance. We did an interesting study and we said which market has produced the maximum number of multi-baggers in the last 25 years. And that happened to be us. 54% of the NSE 500 had actually been a multi-bagger. Now, a few points before I go away. We said Saudi is a crude-based economy. Do you know a country called Maldives? What drives their economy? Tourism. Now, if I asked you the same question, I lived in Zambia. It was a copper-driven economy. What drives India's economy? If the Midas guys gave me enough time, I would bore you and tell you a compelling story in at least 15 sectors, because the beautiful thing about India is it is actually a multi-sector economy, and that's what adds to our robustness. It's not only gotten wider, it's gotten deeper. So people often ask me, market mein itna paisa aa raha hai, is there space for it? Now, a top 100 company, which we call a large cap company, uska size kya hota tha 25 saal pehle? How big was it? Market cap? 10,000 crores? 3,000 crores. A small cap company today, uska market cap kya hai? 16,000 crores? 16,000 crores. My data is a little old, but look at this. So 25 years ago, 3,000 crores made you a top 100 company. Today, 15,000 crores doesn't make you a top 500 company. So the market has expanded a lot more. And now, the answer to my question, which I started with, the stock tip of the decade. I really believe the greatest stock tip of the decade is investing in India itself, on any metric. And as you do that, I only have 3 pieces of advice. One is, and I'm going to become a meme for this, is please buy simple stuff. Thankfully, you have a very good financial advisor. But as the economy matures, and as you mature as investors and get richer, people will give you all kinds of complicated stuff. You do not need to do it. In India, basic stuff will do you very well. An SIP into Edelweiss mid-cap fund has done 18% over 10 years. So, ज़्यादा क्या करोगे आप यार? You know, we have this tendency. We grew up eating dal chawal all our life, and it was very good for our diet, and our mother fed it to us, or sambar rice, or whatever it was. Then when we become richer in life, we feel we need to eat Mexican food and sushi. Then we get indigestion, and we go back to eating dal chawal. At least let 80% of your portfolio be dal chawal stuff. And I'm sure these guys can guide you as to what dal chawal is. Seriously. Second is, I gave you a great picture of India. And it's all true. This is long term. In the short term, this country has a lot of drama. Some cricket team will lose. One state election will create drama. One Adani Hindenburg report will come out. Some KYC will irritate you. As Rashesh said, 25 years are glorious, but 100 quarters are dramatic. We are dramatic people, right? Dramatic people. Right? We celebrate our cricket team one day, then they lose a match, then we are throwing stones. We are just dramatic people. So there will be a lot of drama. And India works despite drama, so turn off the news. Seriously, turn off the news. And third is, we spend a lot of time thinking of when to time the market. And we spend less time thinking of just keeping invested in the market. We launched our Edelweiss Mid-Cap Fund, JP Morgan launched it, at the peak of 2007. And you would have said, jis bande ne us time paisa dala hai, wo gadha hai. I mean, the NAV went from 10 to 2. Even that NFO investor has compounded at 15% plus. So just staying the course is far more important than when and when. And this stuff spells SIP, because I really believe that you do a 10-year SIP and nothing can go wrong. In fact, I'm from Delhi, and Delhi has a little bit of a brag culture. So people brag. A sign of wealth in the 90s was, मेरे पास 2 property हैं और 1 plot कुंडली में है, and you know, I have 1 commercial office here and all. I keep telling Delhiites they should stop bragging about their property ownership and brag about the size of their monthly SIP book. कि मेरी 5 लाख की है, तेरी 10 लाख की है. Last thing, and then I promise I will go away, and I'm also losing my voice. This is Friday night. You should have been watching a movie rather than listening to me, so I'm going to show you some movies. Because I believe movies reflect the true mood of a nation. Some of you are old enough to remember a movie in the 40s called Devdas. Remember? Devdas used to be a campus hero, guys. And this was a guy who wanted to cause self-harm. Some of you are old enough to remember him. This is who? Mother India. You can admit it. Just admit you're old. It's cool. So Mother India had a money lender who was a bad character. Thankfully, we don't call NBFCs and banks evil anymore. Now, in 1970s, our hero was an angry young man, right? Amitabh Bachchan. In Diwar, a smuggler was a hero. A smuggler was a hero. You remember this movie? Kalapathar. The villain was a coal mine. We said corporate sector exploits people. In fact, in the 80s, many of our villains were corporates, mill owners and zamindars. Arnab Goswami has this point of like mood of the nation. The nation wants to know. This is mood of the nation. You're laughing. I'm getting more contemporary for the young people in the audience. Okay. In 1991, we had liberalization in India. A lot of foreign products finally started coming to India. Now in Maharashtra, we have been eating vada pav peacefully for decades. But suddenly we wanted to go to McDonald's and eat a Angrezi vada pav. Gujarat has had rasna for many years, but my parents used to carry Tang packets back, American rasna. And in North, where I come from, it was very cool to marry your daughter off to an NRI in Canada, even if he was not a very nice person. वो tell a youngster कि तुम खर्चा ही नहीं कर सकते हो, then they'll stop listening to you, right? So I tell them, target, तुम्हारी जितनी भी कमाई है, target 1%, 2%, 3% of your post-tax salary and do your damn SIP. And once you start seeing the merits, increase it as your salary rises. So I don't judge youngsters because they don't listen, right? You can pay 100 rupees. There are 50 crore people in this country who pay 100 rupees a month to Netflix or Amazon Prime every month. Who spend money on food deliveries about 40 crore. Food delivery is also more than 100 rupees a month. उतने की तो SIP कर दो. My pitch to youngsters is start. I don't care. And sometimes they listen and sometimes they still buy the 1 lakh iPhone.
One more question, ma'am. That would be the last.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned something about during UPA also there was growth, there were steps taken to improve the financial but there are sometimes many concerns like in the recent election results, what happens if BJP is not going to come, or maybe after 5 years also, what will be the scenario? Will it matter to the India growth story if BJP comes or will the
Okay, so does government matter? I have political views, but I will not express political views. Because, and by the way, it's interesting, I share initials with Rahul Gandhi and Radhika Gupta, and my husband shares initials with Narendra Modi, he's Nalin Moniz. So, हमारे घर में तो ये चलता रहता है. But I don't think the India story is about the politicians in power. The India story is about the demographics, it's 2,500 to 5,000. The India story is about the entrepreneurship in India. And as long as you have a supportive economic policy environment, which I believe doesn't change with governments, India is fine. And this has been, I'll give you one stat before we close. Since 1981, the Indian economy has doubled every 6 years without fail. And we've had some pretty bad governments in power. So the India story, and the reason it feels so different right now is one, because the doubling is happening at 4 trillion in size, so it feels like. Second, the rest of the world is in doldrums. And third, the BJP is very good at marketing. And I think marketing is important, by the way. But the story is actually not about our politicians.
Yes. So now we move to the vote of thanks. Thank you, Radhika ma'am,
Thank you.
for taking out your valuable time and sharing some amazing insights. Your presentation will definitely boost the confidence of the investor community here. We have been following you since last many years, and we make it a point that whenever you are in Pune, we attend your sessions, ma'am. Every single time you have motivated and inspired us, and even today it was the same. Thank you once again.
Thanks a lot to Pune team Edelweiss Mutual Fund, Vaibhav, Nishant and Shraddha, who were instrumental in bringing Radhika ma'am to Pune and to this event of ours.
Thank you, Abhay sir, from the bottom of our heart for everything. With your guidance, we really hope to grow more in the future. We would like to take this opportunity to thank a few more people. We thank Mr. Sunil Nanal, Mr. Vishwajit Honap, and Prajakta Ambekar for their support during our early days. You opened up your network back then to us when we had very little experience. Thank you.
We extended our gratitude to all the clients, friends, and family members for your support and trust on us. All these milestones would have not been achieved without you. A special thanks for all of you who made that extra effort to be here with us on a working day. Some of you come all the way from outside, especially for this event. Some even landed in Pune from abroad and have come here to grace this event. It is really means a lot to us. Thank you.
We would like to thank our parents, my in-laws, Neelam's parents. All of them always believed in us and lent their support to us all the time. Special thanks to them for allowing us to choose our career path.
We also thank our relationship managers of various mutual funds for timely support and service.
To conclude, we are confident that your support will help us achieve many more milestones in the near future. Thank you once again for making this event memorable for us. And finally, the dinner is ready. Request you all to enjoy the food. Thank you.
Thank you.